So I'm going to be trying out the inner life of vlogs and be out in the wild with these things instead of in a cramped studio with lights everywhere. So this vlog will be UArts themed since we're passing by the Terra building, a former building at UArts' old campus before it was shut down, unfortunately, and that's where the film and communications department used to be, where I went. So this will be a quick story on why you should take networking events seriously and promoting your film seriously. So I took a class by Ron Cantor, a video production workshop, which is my favorite class at University of the Arts.
You are the worst student I ever had.
We're in teams where we made like 3 films a semester. Anyway, so this is back in 2001. I took video production workshop. So YouTube was 5 years away. If you wanted to show your film, you had 1 screening a semester to do it in, which is not enough because the fellow artists around you are making stuff every day and get to display it every day. Filmmakers and video makers, it takes so long, you gotta wait like once every few months to get a screening. But again, no YouTube. What was there? Studentfilms.com, which is a website for student films. Magically, that website is still up and running. So this is how old I am. I had to get a mini DV tape of the film, physically mail it to them, pay the processing fee, wait 6 weeks to get an email saying, oh, your film's up online. That would be our YouTube. And so when I finally got the notice that my film from video production workshop that I did with 2 other people, Martin Sleeman, Mike Doonan. Anyway, I was so excited that when the film finally got shown on studentfilms.com about 6 weeks after mailing it in, because there was no Twitter, no backlinks, I had to actually physically print flyers announcing that. It was a big deal too because University of the Arts was not represented on studentfilms.com. I believe I was the first film to get up there. Again, the internet's kind of sparse back then. Can't really build a good word of mouth just by physical flyers, so I wanted something more. So I saw a ad that was on campus for a independent, non-school sanctioned screening. It was open to the public. So I thought, oh wow, we actually get to reach the outside world. So why didn't I think of that sooner? And it was held at the Institute of Contemporary Art. And this is a lesson on why you should network. So anyway, I go to the event. There is a 3-minute time limit. I submit a short film we did in video production workshop called Thank You, about complementary colors. Anyway, so I show our film that I did with Martin Sleeman and Mike Doonan. None of them can make it. Martin couldn't make it, Mike couldn't make it. So shortly after our film screens, a balding man with black rimmed glasses stands up and introduces himself. He says, "Hi, I'm Eric. I know there's a 3-minute time limit, but our film is 3 minutes and 30 seconds. It must be shown."
It is only 30 seconds.
Sir, we really have to stay on schedule.
Anyway, so Mr. Special Privileges gets his wish and they show his film. It is a cardboard cutout animation about a man named Tom. And Tom has some suggestions on how to improve the city, so he goes to the mayor. And it's luckily that they let him show his film because it was the hit of the show. And if you haven't put 2 and 2 together yet, the short film that Eric showed was Tom Goes to the Mayor, which some of you may recognize as Tim and Eric. Yes, that bald guy with black rimmed glasses was Eric from Tim and Eric. I do not remember seeing Tim Heidecker there at all, unfortunately. Yeah, so I got to meet a pre-famous Eric Warheim and show what potentially may have been the first public screening of Tom Goes to the Mayor, which became an animated sitcom later on. And this is the funny part. I did not know they were famous for almost a decade later. Anyway, so it is about 8 years later and I am with Martin that I made the film with. And he asked me, hey, do you ever watch Tim and Eric? And I had never heard of Tim and Eric. So I said, no, who the hell is Tim and Eric? And then Martin proceeds to show me a short they did called Major Lazer, which is like this animated music video. And for whatever reason, I'm watching Major Lazer, which looks nothing like Tom Goes to the Mayor. But for whatever reason, it like totally reminds me of Tom Goes to the Mayor. I have no clue why. It looks nothing alike. So oddly enough, I say to Martin, hey, this reminds me of this random short film I saw like 8 years ago called Tom Goes to the Mayor. I have no clue why I said that because for all Martin knows, Tom Goes to the Mayor, he did not attend the event that night, so he has no clue who those are, or so I thought. Now I'm surprised at Martin's reaction because Martin's eyes popped up. Tom Goes to the Mayor, that is Tim and Eric. And I was like, what do you mean that's Tim and Eric? Tom Goes to the Mayor was made by some random dude from 8 years ago. Wait, how do you know who Tom Goes to the Mayor was? And then we get to talking, and then eventually I slowly realized that, yes, I met Tim and Eric before they were famous. I had not even realized it for almost a decade later. And then Martin could not attend that night 8 years ago, so he could have met them and also could have not realized it for another few more years that he met Tim and Eric from the actual show.
You blew it.
So it was like a funny moment. So we go on Google Tim and Eric, and then yes, I find Tom Goes to the Mayor, and it is in fact the same animation I saw that night. And I look up what Tim and Eric look like. Yep, that's a dude that was at the event that night. And that is why you never skip out on networking events. You can meet someone famous and not realize it for a decade later. And apologies for using AI, but apparently according to Review Tech USA, Tim Heidecker will sue your ass if you use the tiniest clip of Tim and Eric, even if it's fair use, so I'll be careful and sadly use AI. AI.
Yeah!